Hi, welcome. This is part two of my responding to comments by way of making the transition from balance to interaction based. And again, by way of um, trainers like K9staya. Again, I encourage you to check out their channel. The comments that they're leaving on responding to some of these individuals on my channel are very insightful. And again, talking about, okay, why this? Again, these trainers, okay, these balanced dog trainers, and many of them are balanced, not even force free. Um, the balance trainers coming onto my videos, very triggered, very upset, right? But at the same time, I talk about this, okay? A few issues here, okay? If they were confident in what they're saying, in their approach, right, they wouldn't be unsettled in the first place. Okay, they would this wouldn't be going on with how they're engaging, right? They would be like the king of the world. It's kind of like the movie Titanic. King of the world. They would be. People would be. Would be great. The dog training world isn't great. Okay, understand that. There's things in the inherent in the dog training world, dog training community. I talk about all that, and so these are people coming into my social media, right? All upset, wanting to try to do what exactly? Okay, trying to convince me, okay, of something where I asked the questions from the beginning that these individuals that are engaging never asked. Okay, there's that right away. Okay, understand that these trainers never asked the questions. They weren't willing to make the trade-off, right? K9staya made the trade-off, and other trainers out there are making the trade-off. Okay, but it comes down to as an individual. Okay, understand the dog training world is all the type of I talk about the relationship dynamics that are involved. It leads people into believing this lie. Okay, but the clues are there. Okay, that something is terribly wrong. Okay, and this is where part of my flipping the script series I go through. I talk about all the controversies, but if you watch the videos, you won't hear me engaging in cheap shots or personal attacks. These trainers may take that as such based on their suffering from a type of identity crisis, right? I understand their identity, and this is the problem. Their identities are wrapped up in this. So even to say this is science, how can you even claim that it's science when you're using inflammatory, rhetoric and you're getting personal? Okay, how can you claim that this is science, right? It should be based on information and confronting the problems. So if the problems aren't being confronted, it ain't science. So this isn't science, okay? This is a type of belief system, okay? This is a human problem because who controls science? The human, the flawed human, okay? The corrupted, biased human. And so this is like the worst example of trying to elevate something up as science, okay? This is not science, okay? I have great respect for the truth. This is not truth, okay? This is flawed, it's corrupted, and all these people coming in here, they're compromised. Okay, they're turned over to it, and you because when you get into this whole thing about because understand that this is where you can put everything I say to the test. Okay, just like look at the whole Murdoch. You keep bringing up Murdoch. Look at the Murdoch because it's a great illustration of that. He got backed into, put himself in a corner. Finally, right at the very end of it, after like basically just this wasting time for months and months and months, trying to engage, right? And then in the end, his whole thing between him and DeBose and, put himself in the corner. And I put a video, go look at the video. That Goose Gray was locked down. I talk about, the test itself because understand something here. It's my go-to. When you talk about anyone that wants to go on about all the tests and all this stuff and whatever the lockdown part, listen, it's my go-to. Okay, it's how I engage. I'm 5 minutes. I'm less than 5 minutes into a situation with dog owners, and that's all coming together. The test, the core ingredients are being reconciled right away. Right, the very thing that took him almost a year basically to actually put it to the test. It was there all along, and then suddenly. right? See, this is the dishonest part. That's why I have no use for these trainers. This is the dishonest part of all of it. Is Grey Goose was reactive the whole time, right? All the clues were there. Mark DeBose picked up on those clues throughout all the live streams that he watched. We're going the other way with the dog, picking up the Grey Goose, and then but trying to, and this is trying to sell that he, in his arrogance, that this is the blind spot with these trainers, is the arrogance and the pride, trying to sell it like as though he had it all together and he had all the answers and Grey Goose was a show dog. But part of me, like, understand the whole time, like, I didn't really care. That's why I didn't want to, I had no interest in debating him and stuff because I already knew. See, it wasn't like, and that's not meant to be arrogant at all. I already knew that the position he's in, just like all these other trainers. So I have no, take it whatever way you want. I have no really interest in engaging a certain way with these individuals anyway, right? Because the people are going to follow them, are going to keep following them anyway. I mean, you could tell, you could show whatever, and I go back to a situation with um, Gary Wilk to the video on that, calling out, trying to call out Karen Pryor, where she in their conferences was elevating her dog up as a show dog, very similar, right? And Gary Wilkes knew this dog, a squirrel came out, this dog was gone, and she was like saying about how great her dog was, and he said this is a total lie, but he called her out in this article. And guess what? It didn't affect her followers at all because she's telling people what they want to hear. But even for Gary Wilkes, I went further in that whole thing, saying, well, Gary Wilkes is a balanced dog trainer, right? Talking about the realness of no, it doesn't, balanced dog training, presents the same problem through a counterfeit picture based on how balanced dog trainers engage relationship problems. So it's like this is the problem, right? You have, this whole back and forth, but so much of this is appearance based. It's just based on people's personalities, right? Oh, I like a certain person, so I'm immediately drawn to that person, and they start talking about their family and their kids. There's one balanced dog trainer. He said that's part of their marketing is to get on, their podcasts and it's right. It's part of like their marketing strategy. It's like talk about your kids, talk about this, draw people into your personality. Maybe they'll ignore all the other problems. He didn't say that, but that's really what's going on. It's like if you really like a person, you're going to ignore all this other stuff over here, right? About, problems with your dog and you may be stalled out or having problems, but then, oh, I really like this person. And so I'm, I'm ride or die. This whole ride or die type of thing. This is what's happening. And this is why, again, it's a hard blow. I just put it my last video, a couple videos ago, talking about how hard it is. If you've paid $10,000, say, on a play-based, course, and you're presented with this, and maybe you're having problems with your 1 percentile dog. It's a hard thing. You've already invested $10,000. Like, what are you going to do or say? You're not going to get a refund, okay? And then someone like Dale McCluskey comes up and says, "Here it is," and it's putting you in this type of position. You're going to be desperate to try to find some way to work this out somehow, right? Because to say that you wasted your time, you wasted your money, that's a hard thing. And I understand that, but it's the truth. Okay. Understand that that's not my problem. Okay. Understand that, it is what it is. Understand that I'm just the messenger in a way. I've developed this, process to make it work out, but understand the relationship dynamics are already there. Dogs are amazing animals. In fact, I appreciate dogs even more because they do blow all this out of the water. They blow the human pride and arrogance out of the water. So I can appreciate dogs even more so because it brings people down. It removes them off of their out of their high place because people put themselves in this, out of their pride and arrogance in this high place, and it brings down the strongholds. It's just, it just tears it all down. So, it's, I mean, it is what it is. That's how it works. But all to say that, okay, going through these comments here, but I understand there's but when I unpack all this, right, I understand that when I talk about the pride and the arrogance and stuff, it's like a bad cocktail. So it's not just about I put the information out, but for a lot of these individuals, based on their own personality, their arrogance, there's no coming back. Okay, because you have to humble yourself. Understand one of the you have to have enough humility and to humble yourself to make the trade off. And if you're arrogant and you're prideful, and you think you got it all going on, and you got the trophies behind you, and you got all this happening, good luck with that. Okay, you're in a trap. And that's what it is. It's a trap. So, but of people's own choosing, you have the still have the choice to make. You can back out of it. You can make the trade off, but this is a trap situation. Okay, it really is. So here, um, response against responding to comments. So this is a balanced trainer here. Um, it says you find the canine stay. The dog still has the leash and choke chain on. Is following your movement to avoid the chain applying pressure. So see, and then here it is. Here it starts. Right, it begins this whole thing. Well, the dog is, um, you know, the pressure, right? The dog's responding because of the fear, and the dog is like in a panic state. And it's all that stuff, right? Start because this is where it all this is kind of like the fork in the road here, right? This is that whole thing to use treats and the bribery and all that stuff where that all will transition over, right? It's like, okay, to avoid, we're going to go this way instead of this way because, because that's the trap. Because to be able to move through it, okay, you have to be able to, you have to have the insight, you have to have the ability to be able to transition, okay, to be able to make that transition, okay, over, beyond it, okay, through it. And this is that thing. It'd be like a parent who doesn't like confrontation, right? So their parenting style is permissive, right? It's like they're as soon as because they're so scared of any sort of is their role itself, they're so scared of any sort of challenge or that they'll engage in those themes, bribery, and so it'll give you the appearance of agreeableness. You'll gain agreeableness, but you'll never fix the relationship, right? It's this whole thing is I want to, I can't do that. I can't deal with that. And see, this is one of the big problems here in the dog training community. It's like they're letting their emotions lead. There's lack of depth, there's lack of context, and they never can work through anything, right? So right here, you see that whole shakiness right here. It's like to avoid the choke chain and pressure. That's a condition punisher or condition response and negative reinforcement, not genuine body language. Real body language keeps the dog emotionally composed, able to make decisions. So understand, I talk about this whole thing about when I talk about immediately, okay, when I go engage, okay, a relationship problem, it's set, it's established. This is like your parenting style is established. So those core ingredients are established, reconciled properly through how, so there's no wiffle waffleness with me. There's no, well, I'm looking at the dog's reactions a certain way because I already know. Okay, understand that this is the thing about one of the big things here that these trainers see. That's the fork in the road where it's like they cannot work through it because they look at any reaction coming from the dog and they want to just make the dog calm. Okay, they want to calm the waters, right? They don't want to engage. They don't want to engage properly at all because they're convinced, right, that this is the way to go. And this gets into this whole thing about the blame shifting, the dishonesty part of this with so many trainers out there that will package this up because they've already made their choice at that point, right? To say, I'm going this way instead of that way. Think about it. It's like confronting, say, a out of control selfish child. So that child starts to talk back a little bit and starts to engage. It's like, okay, I gotta do something. I can't. That's really what it's going. That's really what's happening. I can't do it. I gotta try to engage this to make to calm the kid down. It's that. There's a lack of. It's like a reality check here, and this is this is a big deal. This is what's one of the things. In fact, I'm considering doing a whole series on this on my part of my member area coming up because I understand how challenging this is, and I probably will do a whole series on this of how to encourage or how to get that first step going. Okay, how to really talk through it to help in a way that's going to really work it out for people to, if you're really that person that's so emotional and so compromised that way with your emotions, how do you move forward, even taking that first step? So I'm going to probably do a whole series and coming up where I'm going to talk through this really to help encourage. It's meant to be very encouraging to help encourage people to move, take that first step out of the boat, so to speak, to be able to move beyond, because that's really where it begins. It's right here. But you can see this right here, in this comment from this person. You can see their struggle. It's like they're convinced, right, that there's this way around all of this, right? And there's not. Understand that, it's a deception. Okay, avoidance, right? Driven by avoid. See, you get the word. See, you'll see all these words all peppered in here. The dog isn't. But there's a transition. So when those core ingredients are reconciled properly at the beginning, right, you're going to get, right, you're going to get certain reactions from the dog that really does really challenge the people to say, I can't deal. I gotta get those treats out. Where's the treats? I got to calm this down. I got to find, see, and that's where it all starts. That's the fork in the road right there. That's the objection point. You get into people like Murdoch and the leash and all those things see, there it is. It's like they can't move through that because they're not willing to put themselves. But then there's that whole dishonest part of it, right? Where the blame shifting's going on. Dogs are taking the hit. They have their own dogs that are reactive. They can't work through problems with. They don't want to admit to any of that. They're in that position, right? But here it is, okay, right here. So it's already starting trying to say, oh well, this is what's they have to package it up. So we'll go through here. So K9staya saying is taking a child by the hand, leading them to school, a punishment. Perhaps so, if your child is selfish. And see, that's the thing. So it's the whole thing. I always say about, you have to line this stuff up. The amount of kickback you're going to get, okay, corresponds to the relationship self. Say, the more selfish the child is, the more pushback, okay, and that's how you really want to look at the challenge part to reconcile. It's the not liking. The child doesn't, I don't want, my parents moving into a different approach, a different parenting style, coming into my airspace, putting demand on me. I can't go over to my friend's house anymore. Structures, like, things are starting to happen. I don't like it. But the amount of pushback you're going to get corresponds to how selfish the child is. So the more selfish the child is, the more, you're going to get that type of challenge, right? But then, say the parent that really it corresponds to it is that parent was very permissive. It got them into that situation to begin with. So their emotions and everything are they're so compromised in that parenting, that permissive parenting role, that they cannot even gather up the ability, or it's such a hard thing for them that they can't get out of it. It's like they cannot challenge it. They cannot push back. And they want to go back to their old, so see, there's that. See, and I see that's the problem, is like you have to be able to, it's like, but needing the help. This is the problem, right? It's like, then if you're very, very permissive and you're in that parenting style, who are you going to probably, okay, if you don't have a certain reality check, who are you going to bring in to give you advice? Think about this. I mean, there's a lot of important, things to consider. You're going to bring someone in that's like-minded to you, not in a good way. That's the wrong person you want to be bringing in. But you're gonna gravitate towards individuals that are going to tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear, what you want to hear. And you're not going to be any better position. You're not going to be, it's not going to be not going to be good. Not going to be good. They'll take your money and they'll tell you everything what you want to hear, and they'll even take things out of context. Right? They're going to lead you into a trap, and you're going to be in bad shape because the relationship isn't going to get better. This is why, again, I talk about the whole parenting dynamic. You mean, you have parents that have a different approach to parenting. What happens? Say one's permissive, one's authoritative. It brings them into combat with each other. They're at each other's throats. But think about what I'm saying. But what happens? It changes the focus away from fixing the real issue with the child. The child sees that, and nothing gets, depend. That's a power play too. It leads people into sometimes a divorce, right? They're at each other's throats in such a way. It's like because see, that's what happens. Those type of relationship dynamics. Everyone has to be on the same page in the right parenting style. If that doesn't happen, good luck with that. That's why you need a professional, but the right professional. You know, when I walk into a situation, yeah, I'm getting, there's ways to word things. There's ways to, bring people to that point, but it still has to be based on the truth. Understand that there's ways you can kind of bring people into that reality without coming off a certain way, but you still have to bring them to the right place. Um, so he says they shouldn't expect a treat or punishment. Yeah, so it's like here he's talking about the parental role, right? It's like parental. I talk about parental influence, right? How's that? That's the same thing. It comes in and through the right parenting style, the authoritative parenting style. So stuff part two here. But again, it's important because understand that there's that, yeah, understand there's a fork in the road here. You see certain language peppered. Okay, as soon as I see that language, you go right up here and as soon as you start to see this certain language, avoidance, right? Implying about, fear, right? And see that those themes are in play. Bribery, accommodation, negotiation, but within the parameters of relationship problem. This is where you talk about context, the context of agreeableness, right? The path you're going to take. It's very important to understand that where it begins. Where it begins. It begins right here. Ending with kind of a story here. I was helping the one dog owner, and we were like a session in already, and she had really a very challenging situation, had a control dog, um, borderline aggressive, and went through everything. The first session, you to really cover the main points, how you have to engage. Okay, it was like I showed up for the next session. She met me at the door, but she had a clicker in her hand, and she was hell bent on saying this is her way now. This is what, and I'm like, this ain't gonna work. Like she wanted to try to bring in somehow, and she was like, well, can't we kind of fit in? I said, it isn't gonna work. I want to help, and that's I want to help you in a reality check time, but I cannot help you because it's not. It doesn't blend in. There's no hybrid here. It's about see, but see, that's the struggle. Now I couldn't help her, but I was very, um, you know, left without bad words or anything like that. I'm just saying, I want to help you, but you have to understand this. And she's like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm like, well, good luck, you know. But there's reality check. You have to tell people the truth. So, thanks for watching part two. I appreciate it, but hopefully, as I go through this, it helps people understand, that there is a process. Okay, you talk about the problem with appearances. Understand appearances are very, very deceiving in the dog training world. Okay, it's about you have to apply proper context, and context comes through understanding being dialed in properly. Okay, but right here, you see this person right here. So right here, okay, understand this is how it works. As soon as I read this, because this person left a whole bunch of other comments we'll go through here. But as soon as I read this, I already know how this is all going to go down. Right? They're already set. If you just read between the lines, but the information is right here. This person's already convinced that of their own approach. Right? They're saying I can get around this. This is the way to go. This dog's doing this because of this, but they never put anything to the test. Right? See, this is the thing. They're already into when I talk about established training, this is where it's a time waster. This is why, for me, when people ever wonder why I don't go through and why I won't engage certain people a certain way, I won't go and just keep typing and respond because that's a waste of my time. It's a waste of time. You have to bottom out. You have to be wanting to help. There has to be a reality check time. And then it's like, well, why are you here in the first place? Because they're unsettled. Right? They can say all they want about this, but they're in this trap situation. Because if they're right in what they say and they're convinced of it, why are they here arguing in the first place? Why are they coming into my area arguing? Because they're okay, they're not, they're unsettled in. But it's for them. They have to work it out themselves. I put the information out, but so I won't respond to, I'm responding here because this is to help other people. But typically I would not, if I see comments here, I just would remove them, get rid of them, right? Move on, move on. why, why are you here? Move on. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's just like this is the reality of the dog training community. I want to help people understand if this person turn around, but for someone like this, they either will never happen or it could take a year. I've had people go onto my videos and it's always the ones that I don't hear from, but they go in and watch my videos right from the beginning, come back, say, Dale, it's amazing. Thank you. It's like a thank you. It's not like this type of thing. It's like they're going in because they're making the choice to say, I'm going to put it to the test and go through all the videos I can find, go through because I want to know. Those are the people I'm interested in helping, not these type of individuals because they're not there yet. And then you're wasting your time because it's a what are you doing exactly? You're debating and arguing. They never even ask the questions to begin with. You know, they're suffering from a type of identity crisis, and they go on all day long. You know, but they won't face the reality of their situation because they're convinced they're right. But if you're so right, why are you here in the first place arguing about what you're right about? You're trying to prove me wrong when I ask the questions and then go through my flipping the script series. I profile all the controversies. Look at the state of the dog trade. So there's that too. It's like they're ignoring even what the dog training world, the state that it's in. See, that's the thing that's incredible. Like, so they're being very dishonest in the fact that they're ignoring all the problems, right? Everything that's happening in the dog training community, all the problems, all the infighting, all the controversies, everything happening. And then they're coming in here like pretending, because that's what they're doing, like they have it all together. They have the answers. That's crazy. They want to try to call me crazy. The person that asked questions, the person that, that shows all everything, and then they're all upset and triggered. Why are you all upset and triggered? You can't even work through. You got your own dog that's reactive with more. You got your own dog that's reactive, and you've been lying since the beginning, and then you're propping yourself up with these followers. Some of them have 12 fake accounts. Okay. Those are people that are that you're using to elevate your ego. That's ridiculous. These people, the social media, these are social media individuals that are living in some of these people are like gamers or whatever, but they're living in some sort of alternative reality. And the truth is, the dog training world is completely sideways for a reason. These people, they don't have the courage to face off on it. If they had the courage, they'd make the trade off. That's the bottom line. So if they had the courage, they would do it. They don't want to do it. Very narcissistic. Okay, talk about narcissism. I mean, it's crazy. So thanks for watching this part. I'll be putting out another part here shortly.